Welcome to this week's Blonde Intelligence. I'm your host, Miss Roni, and I always seek to give you exquisite cranial repertoire. This week, I am going to talk a little bit about how some men think that they can talk about or speak to women, and what deeper meaning does it have about that person's character. Now, I don't know the whole story, but I do know that there's a streamer gamer guy named Adin Ross that has like a major platform. And the complaint is that he normally uses his platform to try to degrade black artists or black women that's in the entertainment industry. And that he's associated with Drake. And I guess Drake has not been responding to him because of the controversy that's going on, where he said some derogatory things about the TDE artist Doechii, and the things that he was saying were not about the music that she creates or the art that she performs. It was about, I guess, stereotyping her and trying to dog whistle about the black woman. And I did a show maybe last year about the perception of black women in the media is not the reality of black women. And I don't understand why people cannot do their research. Over 80% of black women have college degrees or higher. They are like the most educated group of people in the United States. And it seems like they get the least amount of respect. And I'm not just going to say just to him. Now, I'm glad that more men are speaking up, because I'm not saying that none of them ever have, because even if you look in prison, some people are in prison because somebody disrespected their mama or their aunt, and they had like a very close, respectable relationship with. So they're not going to tolerate disrespect of someone that they care about. Now, I do think that black men should stand up more for black women than they do, instead of rapping about hoes and bitches, because really, from what I've seen with a lot of artists, you don't even have the money to be calling somebody a hoe or a bitch, or opening your mouth to say anything. And even if you did have the money, sometimes you need to sit down. From my understanding, because I watched Screwface and a couple of other people, that Adin got scared after he was talking all this shit about Doechii and was using dog whistles to, I guess, demonize black women, try to push that narrative and that stereotype, and then had to call Whack 100. And from my understanding, Whack, without even listening to what went on, because something with the other guy, Glasses Malone, when he checked Adin called trying to start some mess that is too much chaos for me. That's why I stay to myself. Then someone had to call Whack. And Whack reminds me so much of this man that I used to date when I lived on the West Coast. So I think it's like a West Coast persona thing. But he reminded me a lot of him. Bunch of talking loud. And then when it's time to listen, sitting there quiet, actually listen. So, I don't know. But then Adin was talking about people was threatening him and that he would go to the police. Well, if you felt like that at first, then why didn't you go to the police at first? Why did you go to Whack? So, I'm not understanding why the Adin guy, had to even speak anything about any black woman. So my question was, what gives him the right to think that he can criticize or demonize or try to stir the pot, create chaos, tarnish the image, or anything of any black woman? So what makes him think he has the right to speak on black women negatively? No one has a moral claim to demean a whole group, and in particular a man who is neither harmed nor personally involved with the people he attacks. Has no standing to cast blanket judgments about black women. Adin Ross's comments are not valid criticism of art. They rely on racialized and gendered stereotypes that shift the conversation from musical critique to personal denigration. When a public figure uses dog whistles and stereotypes to belittle a black woman artist like Doechii, it says more about his unwillingness to engage responsibly than about her work. It suggests a pattern of attention-seeking behavior that weaponize race and gender to provoke outrage, distract from important discussions, and reinforce existing power imbalances. Attacking people who are not even thinking about him reveals insecurity and a desire to dominate the narrative rather than contribute constructively. Accountability, calling out harmful rhetoric, refusing to amplify it, and pressing for genuine apology and learning is the appropriate response from audiences and platforms. If someone repeatedly harms others with words, consequences such as public criticism, loss of platform privileges, and mediated conversations are reasonable steps toward repairing and preventing further harm. And from what I understand, they hitting them in the pockets. And when people get hit in the pockets, if they're not true to what they said, they'll backpedal or they'll go and do the dance or whatever. So I'm just wondering, is this how he really feel? Was he trying to stir the pot and get ratings? I want to know what the real intentions were, because this lady is not thinking about him, was not thinking about him. So what made him go in on her? I just want people to understand, like I said, black women is the most educated in America, but the most disrespected. And I even think about Meg Thee Stallion, and she just got her new Popeyes chicken. And I think that is a good investment. Places where people are going to go, places that stay in the media where you can actually make money. I think that was a good business move for her. I think that she got a degree in business, but yet the moves that she make, good business moves, but people always criticize and have so much to say instead of giving the respect where the respect is due. There's a lot of respect due with black women, and people are not giving it. And if you don't want to give it now, you will give it later. That's in any scenario. You cannot keep a person that is brilliant down, that is brilliant in what they do. And if you've never been called brilliant before, then you probably on the hater side if you have a lot to say and nobody has ever called you brilliant. But that's all that I have for this week. Remember, I'm really trying to promote my podcast on Spotify. So if you could, please go to Spotify and subscribe. And I'll see you next week. Bye.
Hey girl, let me tell you about this podcast.
Girl, everybody has a podcast these days.
But this one interviews new and interesting indie artists. It's called Indie Artist Music Hustle with Blonde Intelligence.
Really? Where can I find it?
It's on all podcasting platforms, streams live on social media, and on rpentradio.com.
What'd you say it was called again?
It's called Indie Artist Music Hustle with Blonde Intelligence.
Girl, I'm gonna have to check her out.
Give it a check, girl.